Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with another reaction video. Today we're continuing the journey of the Triple X Tentacion Look at Me documentary. He is going to jail for a week. He just had court. He had all of his fans show up and they disrupted the courtroom and pissed the judge off. So now we're going to see what happens to him after this. He goes into solitary confinement, which is a terrible thing to happen to anyone. I'm not a fan of putting any human into solitary confinement. I'm not a big fan of caging them either. If you have a problem bad enough to require a cage for longer than, say, a year, then they're probably better off not aliving. Let's go.
It doesn't matter how many times he spoke about like helping each other or something like that. It was always okay, but he beat Geneva. Like he can never have a conversation without that being going back to being the topic.
And why is that wrong?
Why is it wrong?
How do you fully redeem yourself if every time on every corner it just keeps popping up?
That is true. I don't think that they would be good to get back together, right? I think that would be a bad idea. Once there has been abuse, then it is too easy to fall back into the habit of abuse. But that does not mean that he shouldn't be able to have another relationship. It does not mean that he should not be able to change who he is and to move forward from that. That is something that should happen. But the internet is full of idiots.
But how do you fully redeem yourself without ever admitting that you did something wrong?
That right there is a key. If you're not admitting to doing the bad thing, then you are not trying to redeem yourself.
He acknowledged that there was a situation.
And she's still covering for him. He did.
But
Acknowledging that there is a situation is not saying, hey, I fucked up. It's not. That is a whole different thing, right? Saying, yeah, I did this, I was wrong, is owning something. It is taking responsibility for doing it. Saying that there was a situation. No, that's some hoe shit.
acknowledgement and accountability.
And this is codependency, right? This is somebody covering for him doing that. That's bad. That's a terrible, you're a terrible person. I don't know you, I don't know anything about you, but doing that makes you a terrible person.
Redeem yourself without ever admitting that you did something wrong.
He acknowledged that there was a situation, but self-acknowledgement and accountability. Do I have to hold myself accountable and admit it to the world?
Yes. When you're on that level, yes, you do. Absolutely, without a doubt. And some random guy in his basement doesn't have to admit to the world that he did a bad thing. Some guy on the stage selling millions of albums does.
Just for you guys to judge me anyways?
That's the thing, though. If he would have admitted it, taken responsibility for it, said that he was wrong about it, and then tried to move forward, then it probably would have been a different result.
They were going to judge him no matter what.
That is you saying that, but that is not history showing that.
Without knowing the full story. It didn't matter if he spoke that full story. They were going to judge him no matter what.
That is wrong. That is wrong. That is wrong. Yes, to a certain extent, that is right? Because people are going to judge you regardless. It doesn't matter what I say. I can say right now that the sky is blue, right? And there will be somebody out there that's like, no, it's not. It's teal. Or, no, it's not. It's amethyst. Or whatever fucking color they want to put in there. Somebody's going to argue about it. But that is not what you're talking about, right? If you come out and admit something and repent from it and say that you were wrong and all of that and take responsibility for where you were wrong, that is a whole different thing. It doesn't matter what anybody says from that point forward because most people are going to accept that. Most people are going to move forward. But your own demons inside your own head and your own tricksters inside your own head are going to tell you, well, nobody's going to listen anyway. And then when you got that codependent relationship going on and you're both telling each other, well, nobody's going to listen to you anyway, then you get that in your head and it's stuck.
And that's all he had. That's all he was going through, was being judged. He could release the #1 album. You could love his song, but then they were still judging him based on that situation.
And they should. Like, you absolutely should be judged for putting your hands on your partner, male or female. You should.
It wasn't something he was able to escape, even though he was holding himself accountable.
And even not even just physical stuff, but like mental abuse and financial abuse and all of the things that actually do happen. Like, if you're doing that, then you should be judged. And that whole "nobody can judge me but God" is wrong.
But he wasn't telling the truth about it publicly.
I think it also might have resulted in them taking his whole life away.
And again, that is you saying that. That is not history showing that.
Yeah.
I think it,
Just because you think that that's what would happen does not mean that that is what would happen.
I think it makes sense that
That is you rationalizing the choice not to. That is what that is.
that's an apology that needs to be kind of more planned out in a way that like has an actual beneficial result and not one that, you know, results in
touch
somebody
your-
getting their entire freedom and life
snatched.
taken away.
Yeah.
This not taking responsibility really bugs me. It does.
But I do think he would have gotten to a place where he would have gotten there. He just never had a chance to.
No, he had a chance to. He chose to do differently. Like, y'all just sat around this table and told us that he chose to do differently. He had a chance to do right, and he chose to not. And I mean, 18, 19, 20, that is young. That is so very young. You don't know anything at that age. You think you know everything, but you don't know anything. With the addition of witness tampering charges, Jassy is now face 2 separate cases. He's placed under electronic monitoring while he waited his first trial. That's a whole lot better than sitting in solitary, ain't it? But I bet he don't look at it that way. Because when you're choosing to be depressed, and that is a thing too, some people do choose to be depressed. Like, there is chemical problems that happen that cause depression. That is something that can come upon you. And there are chemicals that can help you to regulate yourself into a place where you can naturally deal with that again. But there comes a point where you are choosing to be depressed. You are choosing to remain addicted. You are choosing to be sad. You are choosing to be misunderstood. And when you're playing into that, and by dwelling on it and not taking responsibility for it and not dealing with the underlying problems, then you are choosing that.
I got a call from a well-known psychologist by the name of Dr. Michael Brannon. The judge decided that I was going to work with him. The judge pointed at me and says, everywhere you go, he's got to go. You got to go. He can't go anywhere without you. Well, the first day, it was people in here galore. I didn't want to go right then and there in a sit-down face-to-face because from a cultural kind of background, the connotations of therapy and counseling perception is what goes along with that. I'm crazy, I'm loco, and I ain't crazy. As a matter of fact, he mentioned that, you know, ain't nothing wrong with me, I ain't crazy.
And see, that's a problem. That is more of the I'm not going to take responsibility. That's what that is.
I said, man, let's walk, let's just walk. Man, I got problems like anybody else. I said, look, I'm here, man, you know, to treat you like a human being. It's about your life, man. It's a bigger picture to me. I'm concerned about you. And he looked like that, pointed at me. He's like, straight.
Guy was rule-based. He was like, yo, you gotta clean this shit up. Way too many people in and out of your house, bro. You can't control what these people are gonna do. Something bad is gonna happen. Yo, you know what? You can't have all these women in your house. It's gonna lead to something. You just pick one and call it a day. You know, he picked Jen.
Before me and Ja ever dated, we're not two people that were looking for anything at all. He actually wanted me to be his assistant. Ja always saw me as this very nurturing, caring person, and he felt very safe when he was with me, and I did too. So he just kind of said, like, you're my girlfriend now, and if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be, but if you want to, I would love for you to be. I'm like, okay. I can be your...
That's not toxic. That's not toxic at all. Like, that's a completely healthy relationship right there. That was a wonderful start to a completely healthy relationship.
rock, you could be mine. I will say there was some days I felt like I was definitely walking on shards of glass because you didn't know what you were gonna get.
We would have sessions. We would just sit down and talk and laugh, whatever his pain or whatever he was.
Like I said, completely, not a problem. Completely, not a problem at all.
Shards of glass.
That this,
Because
right? I walked on shards of glass. I never knew what I was going to get. Nothing toxic. There's nothing toxic in that. He was completely reformed from his problems because, he admitted to them and he took responsibility for them. So he dealt with that. And then he was perfectly fine to jump into another relationship with somebody that he holds power over.
you didn't know what you were gonna get.
Like, you really, really, really should not date if you're not stable.
We would have sessions. We would just sit down and talk and laugh, whatever his pain or whatever he was going through, whatever he wanted to talk to me about, personal, family kind of stuff. And I recognized then that this was a traumatized human being, unable to grieve. And he had to play out the macho. He's 5'2". He's gonna play out this macho.
Oh my. That adds a whole nother level right there. Like, yep.
Rap, the hip hop, and all that. That ain't chance. And he's just.
And that's not to dig on anybody that's short, right? But chances are, if you are a 5'2" guy, you are trying to prove something because you have been grown up to think that you were smaller, you were weaker, and all of that. Like, physically, that can be true. Mentally, it doesn't have to be true.
With an enormous amount of emotion and a lot of stuff. I never could be his biological father, and that was not my role. But if anything, that I could be there, and that I didn't want money from him, it was about him, just as a human being that deserved the dignity and the respect.
I'm with that.
She won't woo me, ayy, just like a song. Right on my dick like a blunt. Right on my dick like a blunt.
Perfectly healthy. Perfectly healthy.
Booty bit like a pimple. Pop that pussy like a pimple.
I know this from what Cleo and Solomon and everyone told me. It's like when I was around making music with him, that's when he was happy. I realized that the process of making music and being able to put his mind on something was what allowed him to free his mind off of all the other places that it was going.
That's scary, bro. Bro, once you learn how to use your vocal range, you can do some crazy shit.
He was putting down big records, and it was exciting to watch.
This damage and the way I feel can't manage.
I gotta break it up, y'all know, for copyright reasons, because this is a music segment and they're gonna hit me for that, even though I've added so much to this already, right?
He was on house arrest, and going to the studio and having to be home at a certain time became an issue. And so we decided to knock out the closets and build a studio in home for him. Whenever he gets into the mood, it's right there.
I remember there was a day in early January that he was asking me if I had any beats, and I said, yeah, I have beats from this person and that person, and this producer and that producer, and he said, no, you. And so I reached over and kind of logged into my Box account on his computer, and before I could click on anything, because I was so nervous, I was trying to figure out what to play him, he clicked on something called Sad Banjo, which turned out to be the beat for Sad.
Did you mute that sound or
maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, he wrote that whole song.
Someone that's afraid to let go. Suicide.
Oh, that's nice. That's dope.
You
Yeah.
decide.
Who am I? Yeah.
Who am I?
Someone that's afraid to let go.
You decide.
Mhm.
That's fire.
Yeah. Like the day we got the mix of Sad back, yeah, I remember us kind of looking at each other and being like, this is different. There was always this desire to have something that just would kind of set him apart from everyone else that he was being.
I'm just trying to break it up for copyright. That's all.
This desire to have something that just would kind of set him apart from everyone else that he was being compared to at the time. And this would have been a song where there's zero rapping on it. And the idea of this song coming out, especially at the same time as a song called Changes, that excited me and it excited him. And then when those two songs came out, I felt like the entire world changed.
That's some energy right there, bro.
Afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Yeah, suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know, yeah. I'm sad, I know, yeah. Someone that's afraid to let go. You decide.
And, you know, in the Sad music video, he kills his former self. And he was really deliberate about not attaching who he was in 2018 to the person that he was in the past.
Someone that's afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Yeah, suicide if you ever try to let go. I'm sad, I know, yeah. I'm sad, I know, yeah.
Transitioning into the blue hair was Indigo Child.
You know, I gotta step on them toes too.
Coming into himself and realizing his responsibility to this generation. You know, him and I had a conversation about what are you gonna be? What do you want these kids to walk away with? You know what I'm saying? What's your message? And he realized he had an obligation that was bigger than himself. And so he chose to take that path.
Okay, so my current focus is creation and evolution. So it's better to be respected through love rather than fear, simply because, like, all right, I was respected through fear, and it's not real love. It's not real love, and it drives people away. It makes people treat you differently. It makes people really, like, it's just not genuine. It's not what you really would want. Like, it's better not to be a crazy motherfucker. It's better not, because I've
That is true.
I've went through that. I've decided there was a point.
And he's being very, very sincere about this. What he's talking about here, he's being sincere about it. He's fully framed in the picture. He's engaging with the audience. That is a whole different energy than what he had in the other one, right? This is him actually being honest.
Where I wanted to be the villain, and it's not fun, bro. It's not fun. People it doesn't attract anything that you truly want. I've started to look at myself very differently and beat myself up. And you guys are the only thing that gives me hope. You guys are the only things that thing that motivates me to ideally, like, yo, be strong. You have over 8 million kids or adults and teenagers watching you, relying on you for this hope.
Jase was becoming
That's a lot of weight to carry at 20.
more patient. He was more positive versus being so angry all the time. You can reason with him because he was able to reason with himself.
When a nigga would just usually freak out and trip out, you would see him go into a corner and do breathing exercises. You feel me? Keep his eyes closed, meditate, even if it's for like a little 10 minutes, then come back and address the situation.
I'm not going to address the issue with the glasses and being baked out, right? Excuse me if I've been silent. I've been working on myself in order to make the world, my family, and my ancestors proud. And again, I am very grateful for where I am and the people I'm surrounded with. Be patient with me and give all the love and good energy you can. We're all on this road together. I like that. I'm all about actually taking responsibility and changing your own life in a positive manner. All about that.
One day I get home and I'm like, something doesn't feel right. Literally the next day, I took a pregnancy test. And sure enough, I find out that I'm pregnant. John had like 30 phones. It was so ridiculous. So I'm like sending the picture to all these phones because I couldn't get a hold of him. Turns out he was at the gym training. Finally, when I got a hold of Jaw, he was super excited. Like, he was like, no way.
Family and success.
Ain't nothing can change you like a child can. Nothing.
I almost felt like he knew how to relate to kids more than he did other people. And he saw this emotional phenomenon in children that they were pure and unable to judge and unable to have hatred in their heart. And he loved that so much that the idea of having a kid of his own and being able to instill this sense of acceptance and lovingness and positivity within this kid would have been his proudest moment.
And at one incident, I took him to Nobu. It was his first time eating at a fancy restaurant. And they pulled up, and we were sitting down eating, and he was fucking around with the chopsticks. And we were just sitting there, and we started talking about kids. And he was like, "You're gonna be a great dad." I said, "You're gonna be a great dad too someday, bro." He said, "No, I'm not." So, what do you mean? And he just looked me dead in the eye, and he was like, "I'm not gonna make it past 21. And then just went right back to fucking with the chopsticks. Like he hadn't said a thing.
He always spoke about death and was fascinated with it, I think, since he was about 15. It's almost as if he was preparing me that he wasn't going to be here.
I don't know this man. I don't know nothing about his childhood. All I know about this man is what we have seen so far. But I do know the industry. Right? I don't know it on an intimate level like some people do, but I do know the history of the industry. And I do know the deals that are very real, that are sometimes struck for very real things. And some of them have time limits. And that's a very real thing too. A lot of people will tell you that it's not, that there ain't no such thing. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. There's too many of them out here telling you that they're in it. Now, I don't know whether he made any allusions to or told anybody about any deals, but I would not doubt it. Like, the facial ornamentation is one of the signs, the sudden rise to fame and the deeds that are done along the way, some of the signs. And the deadlines that actually get met is a very good sign.
His lawyers called and told me that they were coming to pick Ja up Tuesday.
All right, y'all can read that.
I had the worst anxiety ever. I went to the studio and he was working on his first beat. And he was so proud. And I was so proud because I was like, yo, where did you come from? How did you even learn to do these things, you know? He spoke about possibly running. And I was like, Ja, where are you gonna go? You have blue hair with tats all over your face. You're not exactly gonna blend in with the crowd. And he was like, I don't understand what's happening or why. And I said, kid, you're powerful. I said, I've watched you control your crowd and your audience. I said, that's dangerous to the status quo.
That is true.
He got up from around the table and he said, to whom much is given, much is required. And then he said, you know, I'm gonna go buy a bike. And I was like, what? Why? Because at the time he had about 3 bikes in the garage and then some other ones at his other house. Like he doesn't even ride them. But I knew my son. I knew it was because he was so worried. He was so scared. Typically, I'd be like, arguing with him about those type of things if it doesn't make sense. But I knew what that was. And so I was like, okay, let me get security together for you. And he was like, nah, they're gonna take too long. I called Jazz's brother, which is Aiden's dad. I called him and I was like, hey, Ja wants to go pick up this bike. I'm gonna need you to drive his car back in the event that he does get the bike. And I said, no matter what he says, don't leave his side.
How you gonna not leave his side? He's gonna be riding a bike. I'm just saying.
I remember I had walked home that day, content with all my misery. Told myself to get better, no clue what there was next to me. Remember there was people walking, talking in the distance. I was dressed for winter weather, but the summer rays were kissing me. I was lost. So I took a different path. In the distance, he awaited me. Had no weapon, I'm guessing his hands were just enough for me. Was no question, I'm guessing he laughed just at the sight of me. And there he was. His presence was alarming. As he approached was casual, we talked about self-harming. He told me, kid, you shouldn't be walking on your own. He smiled and laughed.
All right. I got to break it up because of copyright reasons. But he's dropping us a little bit here, right? He's telling us about himself, how he feels. I'm with that. Like, I fully support that message. Like, I believe that people can turn their lives around. I believe that no matter how dark it is and how bad it is, you can make a change. I believe that it has to come through God. Like, you ain't gonna do it on your own. But, like, I don't hold the possibility out that it can't. So, like, when people talk about things and when they take responsibility for things and when they own things and when they admit to things, then the healing can come.
Approach was casual, we talked about self-harming. He told me, kid, you shouldn't be walking on your own. He smiled and laughed and pat my back. He asked, how far are you from home? I said, maybe 30 minutes. His frequency distorted quick, I seen it in his image. I should've run right fucking there. You ever woke up on the train track with no motherfucking clothes on?
I knew where that was going, huh?
That before your eyes, you praying to God, but ain't no response.
I haven't woke up on the train track, but I know where you're coming from. I do.
I'm trying to scream for hope, just so that
And I've got that story on this channel too.
you can lean on, but ain't nobody coming, so you scream on and scream on and scream on. While the evil fuck laugh at you. Train getting closer, you still surprised that he battered you. Tears falling harder and harder, minutes get minuscule. Could've had a son or a daughter, now what you finna do?
He was shot in an apparent robbery while leaving the bike shop in Pompano Beach, Florida. So his homeboy took off running, right? Or his brother, that's who that was. Took off running and left, like busts out. Your boy's in the car and gets shot, and they robbing him, but they leave the car. That just seems suspect to me. It just seems a little bit sus.
When I got the call, yeah, I just collapsed to the floor.
Bro, I think X got shot, bro. I think X got shot, bro. I think X got shot, bro. I think X got shot.
I'm like, they did what? Hey, what do you mean they shot Justin?
I remember not having any gas, not wanting to stop, trying to get to where he was, and it's all a blur.
And I just remember like calling Cleo, like, Cleo, where are you? She's like, I'm lost. She like literally didn't know where she was. I'm like, bro, you gotta get somewhere. We're at the hospital. She's like, I'm trying to get there. She's like, I don't know where I'm at.
I was like disoriented. I got there was a few people there already. I'm not sure how.
Shock will get you. Like, if you've never been in a situation where shock actually gets on you, like, it's completely disorienting. It will throw you for a complete loop.
How they found out. And I was just in there for mad long, pacing back and forth. I wasn't able to go back there. They gave me some bullshit story about them not wanting me to see him like that because it would traumatize me, but I think that I should have made that decision of seeing my son.
And then it's like that calm, it was like a calm that set in because it's like, all right, it's Jahseh deserted. Like, he's a fighter. He's a fighter. Jahseh's gonna make it through. If nobody's gonna make it through, it's gonna be him.
The cops came out and they pulled me in a room. And I remember the officer was just so callous when he delivered. He was just like, oh, Jahseh expired today at such and such time.
I still don't understand what he means by expired.
I don't know the situation, but an expiration date is a real weird way to put something.
That shit just seemed like watching a movie or something. I don't know. I'll never come to terms with it.
It went from that to just planning a funeral. I remember Cleo walking in the room and saying, how do we plan a funeral?
There's a weird energy here. I don't know the situation, and I don't want to feed no conspiracies or nothing, but there's a marked difference between the reactions of these two women. There's another woman involved who is pregnant, who might have gotten assets if he would have continued to live. There's a history of abuse. They talked about that already. It's very suspect.
How do I?
Like, if it was my homeboy, right, and I knew the situation, and I could talk on the situation, I would probably have a lot to say about this situation.
Plan a funeral for my son.
To keep hope's not too late for me. Before I lay me down to sleep, pray the Lord my soul to keep hope's not too late for me. Difference changing in the distance, time consumes the image.
There ain't no way that shirt said what I think it said. There ain't no way. Must be a song lyric, huh?
Before I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul to keep hope's not too late for me.
June 18, 2018. 20 years old. That's rough. His son was born 8 months later. I'm not trying to pronounce that name.
Oh no, that's not a toy. That's not a toy.
His son isn't old enough to carry on his legacy. There's nobody that can do it. So I have to not only be here for my other son, I have to be here to maintain his legacy as well as look out for my grandson. Ja
I'm just saying.
was my practice baby. I was
That's the most toxic shit.
Ja was my practice baby. I was 17 years old. There's nobody teaching me how to take care of a child. I just had to kind of figure it out. Ja kind of changed my mindset from hammering, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, because you will lose your child doing that. You have to allow them to be themselves.
After Jossie died, Cleo reached out to me like a year later. So she calls me, and before I answer the phone, I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know if this is gonna be bad or good. I was like alleviated, but really nervous.
You know, this is, my son's no longer here, and I feel like it's up to me now to make amends for any mistakes that he's done and try to right his wrongs as much as I can. I would actually like to hear you tell your story because, like I said, my son died and he's never admitted it to me. I don't think he would want me to see him in that light or know those things, that side of him. You know, just say was wrong for what he did. You know, there's no excuse for that, period. You know, but I just want the world to know that he wasn't that same person anymore, and that whether it's the past, it's still a part of his story.
Now, Cleo and I are cool. It makes me feel like a weight is lifted, basically, because like I felt like I wasn't accepted by the whole family the whole time.
I'm not gonna hate her, and my son's not here, and I don't think she should be mistreated in any way. This is about his legacy, and she is the love of his life, and she was a part of that legacy.
People have like asked me for advice, and I just feel bad sometimes because like I don't know how I feel about telling other people what to do or like how to feel about that, because
That's a tough one.
feel like it's just different with every person.
It's crazy to think that really and truly that at the end of the story, the Jossie's legacy is gonna really help so many fucking lives. So hard to explain, but this dude turned everything around for the better.
He sent out a parachute with his name on it. I think he wanted to talk about suicide and those types of things to help somebody. Really, he wanted to save somebody.
It could go a lot of ways for me, but I just know that I have to make Jossie proud. I have to, because I know I'm gonna see him again in some cosmic plan. Some cosmic plan, I'm gonna see Ja again, and that's what I live my life based off of.
True love shouldn't be this complicated. Thought I'd die in your arms. I thought I'd die in your true love. Shouldn't be this complicated. Thought I'd die in your arms.
31.8 billion streams worldwide.
Hard feelings, but these feelings harder. When I think about it, my eyes fill up with water. Don't have our daughters, butterfly, why they lava? Wait, when you see the kids, I see y'all
Jazzless alleged killers are still awaiting trial.
tomorrow. Wait, when the sun set, I see y'all tomorrow. Wait, when I pick them up, I feel like they borrow. When I gotta return them, scan them like a barcode.
Wait. If you or anyone you know is experiencing intimate partner violence, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE or 7233, or visit thehotline.org. If you are in a domestic abuse situation, reach out. Reach out today. Don't wait. Don't stop. Do it. I understand the situations can be difficult and people want to plan their escape. That is perfectly okay, but do it. Start today. Start planning your escape today. Nobody has the right to put their hands on you in an aggressive manner at all. We're going to let this play. It's got 3 more minutes. If this is just rolling credits, then it's whatever. But there's 2 more parts to this, according to the way that this guy broke it down. So I don't think this is the end. If you or anyone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis or needs treatment information, contact the National Alliance on Mental Illness at 1-800-950-NAMI or 6264. For more resources, visit hulu.com, look at me resources. So this is a Hulu documentary, I guess.
The cargoes, y'all don't like you don't like me, I take it too far though. At least have him in some mics, he played for Chicago.
All right, so that is just credits. All right, we're going to go ahead and transition out, and we're going to talk about it for just a second. I think that there is still more to this. I think that there's going to be a couple more pieces. I'm not sure, though. We'll see. If not, then it's been a hell of a ride. I really hope genuinely that he turned his life around. That the whole situation surrounding his death is extremely suspect to me. The whole way that went down was very weird. The fact that he was talking about running at the time was very weird. The way that his mother reacted throughout this whole 48 minutes worth of video is very weird. So I don't even know what to think. I hope there is more to this so I can see what the hell's going on. But it brought to light a lot of things that we got to talk about. And that's what I like about what I'm doing. So we're going to talk about it, right? If you are suffering from mental illness or domestic abuse, get help. There are people out there who will help you. They will get you out of the situation. They will keep you safe. There is mental help available. Get out there and talk to somebody, because that is what it actually takes to get through this. You cannot keep it bottled up and expect to get better. It's not going to work. Doing the same thing is going to get you the same results. Relying on chemicals is going to get you the same results. Don't do chemicals to be happy. I understand that sometimes it is necessary to do chemicals to fight the chemicals that your body puts off, and that is perfectly acceptable. But if you are on there for longer than a year, 2 at the outside, you are doing it wrong. If you have been on Xanax for more than 2 years, you need to reassess what you're doing with your life. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Till next time, this has been Pitt State. Peace.